Grace the Book Lady here, and I've got a great fall/Halloween story for you. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown by Charles M. Schulz. I loved this story growing up, so I'm excited to read it for you today. Here we go. It was a special time of year. The air felt brisk and cool. The colorful leaves fell from the trees, and the pumpkins were ready to be picked. It was fall, and for Linus, Lucy, Snoopy, and Charlie Brown, that meant Halloween was almost here. So there's Charlie and Snoopy raking leaves, and the rest of the kids are in the pumpkin patch. Look at that. It also meant football. One afternoon, Lucy approached Charlie Brown. "I'll hold up the ball, and you can come running and kick it," she said sweetly. But Charlie Brown shook his head. He knew what Lucy was up to. "You just want me to come running to kick that ball so you can pull it away and see me land flat on my back." "This time you can trust me," said Lucy. She held out a piece of paper. "See, here's a signed document testifying that I promise not to pull the ball away." He felt excited. This year, he was really going to kick the football. Charlie Brown got a running start, but as usual, Lucy pulled the ball away from him as he got close. "Ah!" cried Charlie Brown as he flew into the air. "Peculiar thing about this document," said Lucy. "It was never notarized." Poor Charlie. There he is, about to fall. He never can win, can he? Meanwhile, Linus was busy with his own fall traditions. He was writing his annual letter to the Great Pumpkin. Here's the letter. "Dear Great Pumpkin," Linus began, "I'm looking forward to your annual arrival at Halloween night. I hope you will bring me lots of presents." Charlie Brown was curious. "Who are you writing to?" he asked. Linus smiled, and then he explained. "This is a time of year to write to the Great Pumpkin. On Halloween night, the Great Pumpkin rises out of his pumpkin patch and flies through the air with a bag of toys for all the children." Charlie Brown shook his head as he walked away. Even Snoopy laughed as he walked by. Yeah, Charlie doesn't believe about the Great Pumpkin, but Linus does. Linus kept on writing. Soon his sister Lucy came by. "Not again," Lucy complained over his shoulder. "Writing a letter to a pumpkin? You're making me the laughingstock of the neighborhood." But Linus still wrote. "Everyone tells me you are fake, but I believe in you." Look at Lucy's face. Her disapproving glower. Poor Linus. A little while later, Sally walked over. She wanted to know what Linus was doing. Linus told her about the Great Pumpkin. "Would you like to sit with me in the pumpkin patch on Halloween night?" he asked. "I'd love to," said Sally. Yep. Sally's willing to try it out. Finally, Linus was finished with writing his letter. "And how do you think you're going to mail that letter?" Lucy asked. "You can't possibly reach the mailbox, and I'm not going to help you." But Linus had an idea. He used his blanket as a lasso to open the mailbox. Then he tossed the letter in. Nothing could stop him from sending his letter to the Great Pumpkin. There he is, with his blanket lasso. As Linus went proudly back inside, Charlie Brown came running up to Lucy. "I got an invitation to a Halloween party," Charlie Brown told her. He did a happy dance. It was the first time ever he'd been invited to a party. Lucy frowned. If you've got an invitation, it was a mistake. There were two lists, one to invite and one not to invite. You must have been put on the wrong list. But Charlie Brown didn't care what Lucy said. He had his invitation, and he was going to that Halloween party. Check out his happy dance. Soon it was Halloween night. The kids all changed into their costumes for trick-or-treating. Lucy was a witch. Sally was a ghost. She was afraid of her own costume. Oh well. Charlie Brown was also a ghost, but he had a little trouble with the scissors. Pigpen was a ghost, a very dirty one. Even Snoopy was dressed up. He was a World War I flying ace. Now I've heard everything, exclaimed Lucy. Yeah, so these friends like being ghosts. And there's the flying ace. Well, actually, she's a witch. Two witches. And then the rest are ghosts. As Snoopy marched in a different direction, the little group hurried off to start trick-or-treating. They soon ran into Linus in the pumpkin patch. Have you come to sing pumpkin carols? He asked. You're going to miss all the fun, like you did last year, Lucy told him. But Linus didn't care. He knew the great pumpkin was on his way to the pumpkin patch. You really think he'll come? Sally asked, as everyone left to go trick-or-treating. She was torn. Should she go with them, or should she stay with Linus? Yeah, she's taking off her costume there. I think she's going to stay. Sally decided to stay. I knew it. I'm glad, said Linus. You will see the great pumpkin with your own eyes. Each year, the great pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch, and patch that he thinks is most sincere. Each year, he rises out of the pumpkin patch where he thinks is most sincere. He's got to pick this one. I don't see how a pumpkin patch could be more sincere than this one. There they are, looking very sincere. And there they are in the pumpkin patch. Meanwhile, the other kids had arrived at the first house of the night. Tricks or treats, they cried. One by one, candy was thrown into their bags. Can I have an extra piece of candy for my brother? Lucy asked. He couldn't come with us because he's sitting in a pumpkin patch waiting for the great pumpkin. So there they are receiving their candy. The kids compared what they got. I got 5 pieces of candy, said Lucy. I got a chocolate bar, said Violet. I got a quarter, said Schroeder. I got a rock, said Charlie Brown. Poor Charlie. Soon everyone's bag was filled with candy except for Charlie Brown's. His bag was filled with rocks. But he didn't let that get him down. It was time to go to the Halloween party. Yeah, there's Charlie with his rock. Oh dear. No luck whatsoever, poor Charlie. On the way, Violet wondered where Snoopy, the World War I flying ace, had gone. He's probably getting ready to take off on his next dawn patrol, answered Charlie Brown. Soon the group passed by the pumpkin patch. Has the great pumpkin been by yet? Taunted Violet. You think you're so smart, Sally said, as the laughing group continued along. He'll be here. You can bet on that. Well, there's Snoopy. Can you see him? There he is. And there they are, messing with the 2 people in the pumpkin patch. Sally turned to Linus. All right, where is he? He'll be here, he assured her. I hope so. Just think of all the fun we're missing. Sally's not sure. She's having her doubts. Across town, the Halloween party was in full swing. There were games and music and pumpkins to decorate. Violet, Patty, and Lucy wanted to draw the perfect face on their pumpkin. But how could they? How would they know what to draw? You'll have to model for us, Violet told Charlie Brown. You're the perfect model. You're the perfect model, agreed Patty. Charlie Brown felt honored. He sat down on a stool. Violet turned him around, and then he realized they wanted to use the back of his head as a model for the pumpkin. They were practicing drawing a pumpkin face on the back of his head. Oh dear. Next, it was time to bob for apples. Lucy went first. This is the way to do it. She stuck her head in the barrel and came up with an apple. And Snoopy. Blah! She cried. My lips touch dog lips. There they are. They're biting on the same apple. Snoopy danced along while Schroeder played the piano. Then he figured it was time to go continue on his journey as the World War I flying ace. He sniffed his way to the pumpkin patch. Oop, I almost dropped the book. Yeah, there he is sniffing along. I wonder what he's sniffing. What scent did he catch? Sally was just fed up. Where is the great pumpkin? Linus tried to reassure her. Just think, Sally. When the great pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch, we'll be here to see him. All of a sudden, Linus heard a noise. What's that? He asked. He watched as a dark figure appeared in the pumpkin patch. There he is! It's the great pumpkin, Linus shouted. He was so excited, he fainted. You see it's the silhouette of Snoopy, right? But Linus can't tell. When Linus awoke, Sally was waiting for him. What happened? Linus asked. What did the great pumpkin leave us? Did he leave us any toys? Sally couldn't contain her frustration any longer. I was robbed, she shouted. I spent the whole night waiting for the great pumpkin when I could have been out for tricks and treats. Halloween is over and I missed out. She pointed at Linus. You kept me up all night long for the great pumpkin, and all that came out was a beagle. Well, Sally's none too pleased. Poor Linus. Oh, there we go. As Sally left, Linus called after her. It won't be long now, he said. If the great pumpkin comes, I'll put in a good word for you. Linus gasped, and he said if. He was starting to doubt the great pumpkin too. The hours ticked by. After a while, Linus fell asleep. He was shivering under his blanket when Lucy came out to get him in the very early hours of the morning to tuck him into bed. Oh, I don't think he saw the pumpkin. Later that day, Charlie Brown and Linus met up. Well, another Halloween has come and gone, said Charlie Brown. I don't understand it. I went trick-or-treating and all I got was a bag full of rocks. Charlie Brown looked at his friend. I suppose you spent all night at the pumpkin patch with the great pumpkin and never showed up. Nope, said Linus. Don't take it too hard, Linus, Charlie Brown said. I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, too. Linus furrowed his brow. Stupid? What can you mean, stupid? Just wait till next year, Charlie Brown. You'll see. Next year I'll find a pumpkin patch that is really sincere, and I'll sit in it and that pumpkin patch until the great pumpkin appears. Yeah, Linus still believes. The end. And that was It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown by Charles M. Schulz. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good Halloween. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.